Here we go with Tuesday night on BBC One, EastEnders, Holby and a brand new big build from the DIY SOS team later. Now though, Matt and Alex with The One Show.
Hello and welcome to The One Show with Matt Baker.
And Alex Jones. Now tonight we're joined by a Cuban singer who's sold over 100 million records worldwide. Let's put some of them on.
It's Gloria Estefan.
Thank you. Oh.
So you were covered in mud for the last
Yeah, you were just saying. The rhythm is going to get you. That's the one thing.
It got me, yeah. I was covered in mud there. That's one of my favorite looks we've done for a video.
Oh.
Covered my whole head in mud, and I was tribaled out there. I loved it. A lot
Brilliant.
of fun.
Great.
A lot of blast from the past there.
Well, yeah. I mean, Matt doesn't stop dancing all afternoon, honestly.
I'm a big fan.
Well, we've got a theme tonight of people visiting Britain. So we were looking through some photos of you and the band, and we found this brilliant one. That's just down the road, actually, from here.
I'm wearing my Top of the Pops outfit.
Yeah.
So we were so psyched.
1981, we think that was.
Could be.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's all a big blur. But I can tell you this, that when we shot that photo, you had to fly here under the chance that you would make it into a certain number of the top 10 or top 20.
All right.
And if you didn't make it, one time, one of the songs, we made it, which was Dr. B, which was great. Another time, we didn't make it, and we were here 24 hours and back home again.
Oh, no. Kidding.
That part wasn't so much fun. But then we made it later.
Wow. And so what was your impression of Britain then when you came here for the first time?
Well, I love history, so it's an amazing place to visit. You know, so many things to see. And we're used to the sunshine, so the weather was a little different, but I loved it. It was so exciting for us because we were breaking through for the first time. And one thing was kind of strange to me, that the press here thought I was too nice. I think I had to be mean.
Really?
I had to be mean, but I couldn't be, so.
Yeah, we noticed that you didn't realise how cold it was. If we just go back to that picture, and your bandmate has got this really weird, like knitted
tank top on.
Well, I don't know if you're going to go for a vest.
Everything for fashion.
Yeah.
And the muscles. They wanted to show off the muscles.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Right.
Now, if you're going to go for a vest in Britain, a wool one is always the best option. So anyway, so we're going to be hearing, Gloria, about your new album.
All right, great.
Very shortly. Looking forward to talking about that.
Yes. Now, when Gloria's not making music, she's busy campaigning for the rights of immigrants. Gloria's family fled Cuba 55 years ago to settle in Miami.
Now, every year, tens of thousands of migrants embark on the treacherous boat journey from the north coast of Africa, hoping to reach European shores.
And Malta's Prime Minister says that his island can't cope with the sheer volume of people arriving. And he's asked for other European countries to help take some of the migrants on.
So, should we do more to help? Ewan has been finding out what you think.
The recent deaths of over 300 people on their way to the tiny Italian island of Lampedusa has once again brought migration into the headlines. Both France and Germany take double the amount of refugees we do each year. With Italy crying out for help from the rest of the EU, is it time we help them out and do something about relocating some of the 30,000 refugees who end up in Lampedusa each year? Do you think, as a country, we should be charitable and let people in?
At the moment, this country's got its own problems. Young people in this town that haven't got jobs or housing.
I think we do need to help people. We've got a duty to help people, but we need to get our own country in order as well and sort out our own issues as well.
What about people who think we should maybe merge with Europe and help out as one big nation to divvy out the refugees, if that makes sense?
It probably is, but that probably won't happen because of all the different politics that go on. All the different countries have got their own ideas on what's right and wrong, so I don't think that would ever happen.
Roughly how many refugees do you think we take in per year? Any idea?
I don't know idea, no.
In terms of population, Sweden, who only have a 10 million population, they take in 16,000. France take in over 36,000. We only take in 15, so we're half as generous, if you like.
I didn't know that, did you? No.
Does that change your opinion, perhaps?
I suppose so, yes.
Small island of Lampedusa, I don't know if you know there. They have 30,000 refugees.
Economic migrant. That's the one that upsets people, isn't it? Any worldwide thing, any disasters, any humanitarian thing, it's always us that do it, isn't it?
We do realise that they're coming with no monies, they're taking their lives in their hands basically all the time.
I personally absolutely do think we should be sharing that responsibility in such desperate circumstances, you know, for sure.
So you think we do enough then? You think we do our bit for the world society?
You can never do enough. You can't say, well, I've done that, I've done my bit, mate, I'm going home now.
Well, Gloria, we were just talking there about your family fleeing from Cuba when Castro came to power.
It was tough. You know, my dad was a police officer, and he was a very good-looking guy, so he was chosen to be in the motorcade for the First Lady. And the night that that Batista left Cuba, he came home and he told my mom, we're in real trouble. The president just left. And he realized that there was no way that he was going to be able to raise us in freedom there. So he took us out. He took me and my mom to Miami. And then he got a job for $15 a week parking cars, which he thought was $50. He got very confused.
Wow. Oh, really?
But he goes, I got $50. My mom goes, there's a mistake here. But anyway, he went back at the Bay of Pigs invasion and was a political prisoner for 2 years there.
And what was it like for you then, growing up in Miami? But were you still within a Cuban community?
Well, I'll tell you this. My mom created like a commune of women that had their husbands in Cuba at Bay of Pigs who all had small children. So they bought a car for $50. I remember it had a hole in the back seat, and they would pile all the kids in there together, and we'd throw things through the hole and look out the rearview mirror. But they would go together to do the shopping, to kind of support each other through that. And I remember when we first tried to find apartments, even though I was a little baby, I was almost 3 years old, there were signs that said no children, no pets, no Cubans. And it was very tough for my mom.
Wow.
And she found a great place and brought all these women to create a support system for each other.
And in Cuba then, they've been banned, radio stations, from playing your music until last year when the ban was lifted. So how would you feel now then, Gloria? Would you go back there to perform if you were asked to go?
Well, I'll tell you this, the ban really has not been lifted. That's just some things that they say.
Right.
You hear my music now in the hotels and in people's homes more freely because it's really getting harder for the government to clamp down on them. But they won't play me in official government stations, so which is ludicrous because I do not sing political music. I mean, if you play conga backwards, it makes you want to go beat Fidel senseless with a pair of maracas, but that's a subtext that no one really has latched onto through these
Well, I'll tell you what, let's play it forwards, actually. So here we go. Do that conga.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Feel the rhythm of the music getting stronger. Don't you fight it till you try to do that conga beat.
Oh, it just gets you every time. Even the old we're just like this. Whoa.
Why you got ants in your pants?
Stop it. Anyway, sorry.
Now, this next film comes with a bit of a warning because you're about to see Jay Rayner visit a Cuban restaurant and attempt to salsa. We're really sorry.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's see.
Writing about restaurants has taken me all around the world, but I've never experienced Cuban culture. Well, it's time to put that right with a trip to Cuba. Well, kind of.
Hi, Jay. Pop in.
Don't mind if I do. Cuban singer Laura Hernandez is my guide for the day, and she's brought a car typical of something you'd see on the streets of Havana. The 1959 revolution in Cuba led to restrictions on what people could own, import and sell. So pre-revolutionary cars like this one were, and still are, the most common motors on the road. When did you come here to the UK?
7 years ago. So I didn't know how to speak English. I learned of EastEnders.
You learned English by watching EastEnders?
I love England, but there are things that I miss about Cuba. People are so passionate, so vibrant. It's a very happy society, and I miss how everyone says hello, they talk to each other.
Can we find a bit of Cuba in London?
Yes. There is a little Havana somewhere here in London that I will take you and you will love it.
Cubana near Waterloo Station claims to have been one of the first Cuban restaurants in the UK. But before we eat, I'm getting a taste of another great Cuban pastime, Domino's.
So Laura, what's with the Domino's?
Well, the Domino's is a key part of our culture. It joins generation to generation. Our neighbors play together, kids join the elderly people, and it's quite nice for society.
Time for a drink. Come on.
The speciality of the house is the mojito, but this isn't the usual cocktail served in bars across Britain. This recipe comes from an illegal underground bar in Havana.
Cane sugar, unprocessed sugar, lime juice, fresh mint,
mandolins, then beautiful rum, then some soda water, some ice.
Whenever I've had mojitos before, it's been crushed ice. Why don't you use crushed ice?
We don't want the ice to water down your mojito, and the ice lasts longer in the glass, so it stays colder for longer. I hit the mint in my hands, which releases the fragrance of the mint, and put the straws in front, so when you drink it, you get a hint of the mint.
Is it mojito time?
It is mojito time.
Oh, that's a lot sharper and fresher than I'm used to. And it's not too sweet. You know what you're doing.
Thank you.
This is the part I've been looking forward to. My chance to try Cuban food for the first time.
These recipes all come from pre-revolutionary times in Cuba. We got to the point that we even went to the old villages in Cuba, really isolated ones, in order for us to be able to understand how it's made. And then we brought her over here, and it's been a huge success ever since.
Laura and I go for a traditional dish that's typical of what's eaten in the country today.
This is ropa vieja, which means old clothes, which basically is braised beef, and you put it apart.
Oh, so it's like the shreds are like rags of clothes.
And we have frijoles, black beans, which is a very traditional Cuban bean. We use it all the time. Rice, fried bananas.
This is good. It's subtle, a deep, warming stew. Finally, Laura's determined to make my Cuban experience a complete one. So that means salsa music, and somewhat reluctantly, I'm forced onto the dance floor.
Cadillacs, dominoes, mojitos. It's been one serious day. This may be my first visit to a Cuban restaurant, but I think I like it, and I'm going back for more.
He looks like he enjoyed that. And before you tippy-tappy in with your complaints, that vintage car that Jay was sitting in at the beginning of the film doesn't have seatbelts.
So we couldn't put them on.
Jace, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a good night?
It was a fantastic night. It was a fantastic night, and I did dance.
Who knew?
Who knew?
If I would have, not that you don't dance.
Oh,
Who knew there was a Cuban restaurant here?
That's fantastic.
I've come here so many times and never ever knew that this was there. That's amazing.
I'm sure they'll be open arms if you want to go along. But anyway, you've been sampling Jay's mojito. How does this compare to yours? Because you said you're a world leader as far as mojitos are concerned.
We crush the leaves at the bottom, and we use syrup, simple syrup.
So not fresh lime juice, rather not.
Simple syrup with the sugar. We melt it down so that you don't ever have the sugar bits, and that way you know exactly how much.
It's quite sweet, this one.
Why don't we drink mojitos every night?
That's a good question. But anyway, so
I call this nuclear lemonade.
So Gloria, you have 7 restaurants, you have 2 hotels, you've got a cookbook out. Why is food so important to you, and why is food so important to Cubans living in Miami?
Well, food is part of our culture, and my great-grandfather was chef to 2 presidents in Cuba, and when my grandmother was 12, it was the Depression, World War I, and she needed to work. She was the second oldest of 12 kids. So he pulled her into work with him in the kitchen in Palacio. And I grew up in the kitchen with my grandma. So it was her dream to have a restaurant, and I wanted to fulfill that dream for her and also promote our culture through food as well as music.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done with our places. Yeah. This is very impressive.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Stuff.
And food seems to be quite important, Jay, doesn't it, to expats, because it keeps that connection with their home.
It's a way of remembering, isn't it? Once you've left the country, you can still recreate the flavours. And there's no such thing as authentic, really. People talk about authentic. No. The flavours that you remember in the country. Anybody who's eaten Chinese food here and elsewhere around the world will know how different it can be in all the different places. I've eaten Chinese food in Rwanda, and it was not quite the same as it was in Chinatown, funnily enough.
But interestingly, you'll sort of get more traditional food.
You get more traditional food. I think back in the home country, they're moving forward and they're thinking forward. Outside the country, they're remembering and they're trying to keep alive all that culture, which is part of what your restaurants are about.
And there's also staples that belong not just to Cuba, for example, to the Caribbean, the rice, the beans, the bananas, they're made in different ways. And in South America, they do the rice and beans, but in Peru, they'll do the rice with lentils. Yeah. And in Ecuador, they'll have a different one. Everybody has their own take, but rice is a big part of it.
Staple.
Yes. We make brown rice. We're trying to make it
very healthy.
The triple C, calorie conscious Cuban,
Yeah.
which we will make brown rice and then we'll bake the bananas.
Sounds like a marvellous idea.
So it's not that fried and.
Now, back to the film, Gloria. We saw Jay there salsa.
Yes.
And we thought, I don't know what you think, that he needs a bit of help.
Oh boy.
I'm a 47-year-old man. When I was
But look,
she
you're
is
shaking
19 years old.
You're shaking
I
it.
mean, and I think, you know, I didn't know I had hips.
But you've got the sort of fish hands.
I think you did.
Anyway.
I have hands.
You have to use your hands. We use them for cooking. So
what we've done, anyway, we've created this sort of salsa cupboard out in the corridor over there.
All expenses been spared.
And, yes. Here we
Here
are.
we go, look, and open up and see what's inside.
What?
Oh, look at this.
Now, that's Sean and Martha, and they're going to give you a little lesson, and then we'll get you back and see what you've learned.
Can I apologise to the nation now?
Yes, you can.
All right, I'm off.
I think you're going to be fabulous.
Thank
Saw your
you.
hips.
There you go. Get yourself in the cupboard. There's a good lad.
Now, if Jay's any good, you never know, he might get a job with this next lot.
Yes, because now it's time to welcome some more visitors to our shores on the second leg of our Round Britain cruise.
Yes, here's how the American tourists on board the Caribbean Princess view Glasgow.
They have come, and in their thousands. From all over the world, these ocean voyagers have set a course for our green and pleasant land. Southampton, Guernsey, Belfast have all played host to the 3,000 passengers aboard the Caribbean Princess. And now the baton has been passed to Greenock in Scotland. So what is the draw for these first-time visitors?
Castles and bagpipes. Might get a little bit of both.
Everything that we look forward to culturally, we're seeing and experiencing firsthand.
Once a proud naval town, Greenock's fortunes had been on the decline. But its natural deep-water berth and proximity to Scotland's biggest attractions have become a major draw for cruise liners like this one. 80,000 tourists a year now pass through Greenock's port, and a string of tour guides are here to welcome them in.
They're all family here. The door's always open for people coming back to Scotland.
40 minutes drive from Greenock is Scotland's largest city, Glasgow. Famed for its museums, architecture and culture, Glasgow represents all that is Scottish to many of its visitors. And today, the Rogers family from Florida are finding out why.
When I think of Scotland, I think of bagpipes, kilt.
Scotch.
Braveheart.
And whiskey. The bagpipes, the hard alcohols.
So drinking.
Yep.
Okay.
In 2012, more than 1 billion bottles of whiskey were exported from Scotland.
Single malt Scotch whiskey.
And with so many varieties on offer, the Rogers have come to learn what all the fuss is about.
So how many whiskeys and Scotch are represented?
In the store?
In the store.
About 250 or something?
250,
yeah.
okay. No
But
wonder
there's
why
only
they-
about
different
100
kinds?
distilleries.
Yeah. What is your most expensive bottle of whiskey in the store?
It's over in the cabinet, £3,500.
£3,500. So what? How much does that cost? That little thing. It's 12 years.
£10.
£10. Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Back in the city, and the Rogers are struggling to get to grips with some of Scotland's best-known figures.
Who's Robert Burns? Who was he?
Robert Burns.
It's that statue over there.
Even the Russians know who he was.
I'm sorry, I'm a stupid American.
Robert Burns is a Scottish poet.
He did what?
Scottish poet. It was Robbie Burns that penned Old Lang Syne.
Well, I'm definitely, when I get home, I'm going to look him up.
Having narrowly avoided a breakdown in international relations, the Rogers continue their tour of the city.
We're going left. I mean right. My other left. It's a city, but to me it feels more of like quaint, compact.
And the buildings, they have skyscrapers, but there are still a lot of old buildings remaining
the
here. So
architecture.
the architecture is beautiful.
It's the end of the day, and as the passengers board the ship once more, the people of Greenock turn out to give them a send-off they'll never forget.
The cathedral was the highlight, and just shopping.
Went into one little cafe and had a cup of tea, and it was wonderful.
We did that because that's the only place you go to the bathroom if you got a tea.
I had to stop shopping because I had so many trinkets with me, I was afraid to sink the ship.
For these pilgrim passengers, their time in the UK is drawing to a close. But for a few more days at least, they can continue to enjoy the very best of British.
See, I'm like that woman who fills their rucksack with trinkets and bits and bobs from anyway. And you were just saying, Gloria, that you've got a captain's license.
I do indeed.
Well, how did that come about?
Because I'm a boater and I wanted to be safe, and I've taken 3 different courses: piloting, seamanship. I can plot a chart.
How big? What's the biggest vessel that you've piloted?
Well, I can pilot pretty much any size vessel. Well, not a cruise ship for sure. But my boat is 37 feet. I can do 45 feet, 50 feet. I know it's different here.
Wow,
but,
that's great.
Gloria would have made a superb Blue Peter presenter look.
Well, I know, this is it. The cooking, the action stuff, the singing, the performance. It's perfect. So let's talk about your new album, The Standards. Now, it's got a very different feel to what people may be expecting.
It does, but the reason I did my ballads is because at the inception of my life, my musical career, and I started singing when I talked, was this music. My mother was a huge fan, and even in Cuba, she would listen to Nat King Cole, who visited Cuba many times, performing Sinatra, and this is what I grew up listening to, was the first songs I sang for my parents when I learned to play the guitar, and it's very natural to me, so it's full circle, kind of going back to my roots.
Yeah. And you recorded it all with a lovely big orchestra, and here's you actually recording Young at Heart, one of the tracks on the album.
Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart.
These guys that recorded with me have done music with Ella Fitzgerald. It was her drummer that played with me on here, Count Basie. I played with Sinatra. They're really the real stuff, and we recorded live 4 days in the studio, 4 songs a day.
Wow, well, if they were so precious then, did you feel the pressure to get them right? I mean, if you were recording them so quickly.
You know what? I don't think there's a way to get them right because they've been done by the greats. All you can get them is yours. And I really dug deep. And I made sure that I picked songs that were very, very personal to me to bring something else to them because they've been done by the best singers in the world.
And one was your first dance in your wedding, and that's why you chose it, apparently. And Matt has been practicing all day.
Oh, man.
The Spanish way of saying...
Is it? I'm going to stitch me up now. El día que me quiera.
Oh,
very nicely done. Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Yes. Oh, there's our wedding picture. Where are my eyebrows? I demand to know who took my eyebrows. It was the 70s, what can I tell you? No, you know what? We danced that on our lawn because we weren't going to have a reception. My dad was very ill. We had come from the hospital, visited him in my gown, and they threw us a surprise reception in our home, 200 of our closest friends. And they put on the music, and our song was always by Roberto Carlos, the version, because this is a 1920s tango by the god of Argentina, Carlos Gardel. And I really wanted to do something new that hadn't been done, add another layer to a standard, and I wrote it in English, trying to make it a killer wedding song. And when I sang it in the studio, they had brought my grandbaby to visit because I hadn't seen him in a week, and I was literally holding him while I sang it, and all the words became about him. So talk about full circle, from our wedding song to all about the baby.
Well, the album is out on Monday, and on Thursday, Gloria has a sellout gig performing The Standards at the Royal Albert Hall. But recently, we sent Joe Crowley to a very different kind of performance.
Yes, it's called Immersive Theatre, and Joe really does immerse himself in this one.
Tonight I'm off somewhere special, an unconventional theatre experience that unfolds over 4 floors of a central London venue. A show that invites you to actually become part of the production. Bad things happen, just like in the papers. I'd been assigned to find out who this guy was. There were no clues, except for this theatre company that set up shop at Old Temple Studios. I had a hunch. The city screamed with anguish, and upon entering, all my senses screamed to be careful. Like, why the mask? This was going to be no ordinary night. What was the story behind the drowned man? Upon entering, I was encouraged to roam on my own, but it soon became clear that I'd been enticed into a gigantic, mind-altering labyrinth. And behind every mystery, there's a woman waiting at a bar. You know why I'm here, Maxine? What's the story of the drowned man? And how long did it take to get all this off the ground?
It was a pretty quick turnaround, so all in all it took us about 6 months. There are 133 rooms, it's 200,000 square feet. It took 420 people to create the production.
How would you describe this type of theatre? What is it people are experiencing here?
Well, this certainly isn't a play. It's an exciting time in theatre because I think audiences want something other than stages. They want a sense of an event. This work is particularly unusual because it really places the audience in the middle of the experience.
Every part of the set, it seems so detailed. It almost has its own character in the production.
The main ideas for the set design came from a novel called The Day of the Locust by Nathaniel West, which really details kind of fading Hollywood. And the novel's based in the 30s, but the show is set in the 60s. So we get the fading glamour of the studio system and film sets, and then we get the outside of Hollywood. There's poverty and there's a sort of sense of trailer park, and then these characters that hang around the gates of the studio looking for their slice of fame.
And so why do the audience have to wear these white masks?
It allows the audience to be anonymous, so that allows them to be more confident, to sometimes misbehave a little bit. You open a drawer, you can read a letter, you can lie on a bed, you can smell some herbs, you can drink a shot of whiskey. The audience actually become characters.
As I explored, I crossed paths with characters racing around the landscape. I had the chance to follow them, so I did. Well, so far this has been a very weird, a very wonderful experience. You're kind of whisked between all these different worlds, seeing movie plots happening, people getting killed on the set, people running away suddenly, and you have to make decisions really quickly. But there's always a new character that comes in. We need to talk. What's it like being part of all this?
It's kind of an amazing show to work on, and everything's a stage, no matter what you're doing.
And is there any order to all of this? I mean, how does the audience get their head around it?
We have a set of 12 scenes that we perform, but the audience are free to kind of experience those scenes in whatever order they want to.
So what's it like then, when you can be interrupted at any moment?
Yeah, the audience are really unrehearsed. So you come in and you expect them to do a dance somewhere, and then there's someone standing there, so you figure out a way around it. My real advice is to go on your own. I really encourage people to follow who they find interesting.
You can't even comprehend what everyone's doing.
It was very immersive. I still don't feel like I saw it all.
I described it probably the ultimate 3D movie, and I've come away from there still thinking about it now, and I probably will be for the next couple of days.
Curiosity is key. The more you explore, the richer the experience. I had only scratched the surface of what lay behind the story of the drowned man. Coming here was like recalling a traumatic event that haunts you at every turn, hard for the conscious mind to forget.
I'm desperate to go and see that. Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. Great film.
Yeah, I feel kind of strange. I'm the second mojito of the night watching that film.
Yeah. Calm down, Baker. Calm down. So earlier on, we sent Jay off to practice his salsa, and we've been joined now by Emilio, Gloria's husband. Nice to see you.
Who will not be dancing.
It was a fun show.
I was telling you, I was so surprised to see a Cuban girl with an English accent. That was very weird for me.
Me.
Emilio, actually, if you just pee around the corner, we can recreate that wonderful picture of Miami Sound Machine. There we are. There we are.
You know
We're going to need a lot more hair and beard.
It was funny. When we came for the first time, they gave us budget for 3 musicians, had to play conga, keyboard, and piano, everything, you know, on top of the pops. You know.
They make you hard.
Well, they're off and running, so look at this. What do you think?
Yeah, what's
I am very impressed. I am very impressed. He's into it.
You can carry on, but unfortunately, that is almost it for tonight's show. Well done, Jay. A massive thank you to our guest, of course, Gloria Estefan. Lovely to see you. Thank you for your company.
Gloria's album, The Stanzas, is out on Monday, and we'll be back tomorrow with Stephen Merchant and our brand new Children Need Challenge. We'll see you then.
Nice.
Bye.
Good
Well
night,
done, Jay.
Jack and Ronnie can't escape the past. EastEnders next. Football, it's a crucial night for England. They must beat Poland to guarantee a place in the World Cup. Live commentary from 8 on Radio 5 Live, or there's text commentary online at the BBC Football website. And once the dust has settled, Football Focus will have full post-match analysis at the weekend.
You ask us to get behind you, and why should we?
You're punching a bit above your weight there, son, aren't you?
Tell me what's going on.
Your own dad? He knew.
He wouldn't do that to me because he wasn't that sort of a man.
Oh, I've had just about enough of this.
We owe 100 grand.
Martin! What am I going to do now?
Truckers continues Thursday at 9 on BBC One and catch up on BBC iPlayer.
One Extra Live is coming. 4 nights, 4 venues, 4 massive lineups. Performing live, Rudimental, Robin Thicke, 2 Chainz, Sean Paul, Naughty Boy, Jason Status, and many, many more. Get One Extra Live 2013. Watch it all now on the BBC Radio 1 Extra website.
A life-changing big build for an injured soldier. New DIY SOS tonight at 9. Holby in half an hour after EastEnders.
You can't actually attach anything to the lamppost.
Come on, Tam. You know, give a brother a break, yeah? Please.
Hey, Phil.
You don't need him.
No, I've got you, haven't I?
Yeah, and it don't matter what anyone else says. All right, it's just you and me against the world.
Do you want to hand the car up?
Nah. I'll see you later.